Also YouTube, Duel here from Zephyr, and today I'm bringing you more commentary from a live Duel at locals. On the left you've got myself playing Dark Magician, Asmina, Primite, and on the right we have Yubel. So we start off with the Lotus. Lotus goes into Spirit and it's pretty much going to combo off from this position here. I was, as a preview, shocked by the amount of players at the local that was main decking Draw and Lockbird, and you'll see that come into full effect during the next turn. As my opponent continues to combo off, my hand wasn't the greatest. I believe it was, I think there was like Magician's Souls. There was no hand traps of interaction, but then on top of that as well, I think it might not have been Dark Magician Go, it might have been Dark Magician, plus Witch. And it's really the top deck that kind of changes it, because like as they're building the board, I think I've got Lordy Lord as well. So I've got like a bit of all of the engines, which is great to have for the deck to kind of showcase it a little bit. But as you see, my opponent's kind of going off here. They've ended up getting Varudras. Something else I probably should have mentioned at the start of the video is my opponent doesn't own a Phantom, so they have to play it a little bit differently to the normal kind of play state. So during the draw phase, we activate Wanted. Wanted attempt to search out Witch. This one goes through, so I get access to the Witch. And then we carry on going from here. So then we're going to be, it's like you've got to decide whether you want to go Lordy Lord, which is kind of ideally what you want because you get Primite Raw in order to set you up your Dark Magician early doors. So kind of go with that over the Witch, which is very risky, which is why it plays into Draw and Lockbird. So there you go, there's the Draw and Lockbird. And I'm like, bro, who the hell's main decking Draw and Lockbird? So evidently, and I saw it a lot. I was actually shocked because like, I think out of my 4 matches of that day, of today, or the day of playing these duels, 3 of them were main deck and Droll. And I'm like, what the actual heck? So we activate Raw. Raw gets negated by Varudras, so I don't get a free Dark Magician to the board. And then it's pretty much building from this point on. Knowing that I'm under Droll, it's like, well, okay, how far can I go? So we go Witch. Witch would send, has sent one. I think it's Dark Magician that I sent, or Dark Magician Girl. Unfortunately, the graveyard is just off screen. This then lets me set Deception, and then I'm going to activate Deception. Not that it does anything, because I don't control it as Amina at this moment in time, but if I did, it would be a 3,000 life point swing. The other is that I'm trying to work my way up into the access code line, and that will then allow me to pick off like Varudras, Spirit, and the back row. And I'm a little bit cautious of the back row, because I know my opponent does play Super Poly as well. So again, it's a little bit of a disadvantage, because in an ideal scenario, what I'd be doing is I'd go Deception. Deception would search and work my way from here. And now I've got to decide, what do I want to summon off of the back of Magician's Souls? Do I want to get the Dark Magician to the board, or do I want to get the Souls to the board? Souls is relatively pointless. Like, it would have been better, and this is another mistake that I made as well, is that I wasn't playing the Anima. If I was playing the Anima, then this would have given me one less thing to worry about, because then I would have gone into Souls, Souls going to Anima. Anima steals the Yubel or the Varudras. And then that gives me another pop. And this is kind of obviously where the not playing the Anima really cost me. So that's definitely something I'm going to be changing about the list as well. So we go into the Dark Charm. We bring back the Spirit of Yubel. We go into Selene. Selene revives Dark Magician. Dark Magician you turn into Umduct. And the reason that I've done it this way is it just gives me an Earth and a Wind that I can banish off of Access Code. So Access Code gains 3k. We're now going to use Access Code's effect. We'll pop the back row in case there's anything threatening, and it's a Chamber. So the Chamber's going to summon out a Unchained from the deck. And this is obviously, yeah, I kind of learned my lesson from this point here. But you already saw that they've got 1 Spirit stuck under Varudras. They've got 1 Spirit in the graveyard already. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're not playing free Spirit. And in a second, you find out that the fact they're playing free Spirit really comes back and bites me in the arse. So we go Access Code, we banish another attribute. So we've banished Dark and Light. Dark and Earth. And now we're banishing Light. And then obviously we get to banish Wind as well. And it's at this point when I'm like, okay, do I pop the Terra Incarnate that's on the board? Because I can't really attack it anyway, so I kind of have to kill it. Or do I pop the Pain? And I'm like, well, if I pop the Terra Incarnate, the only risk that I have is if they're playing Unending Nightmare. And if they're playing Unending Nightmare, then I pretty much just eat that L. So it's whether I pop the Pain or pop that. And I was like, well, if I pop that, if I pop the Terra Incarnate, at least I can still attack. I probably should have attacked the Pain. Like, in hindsight, I should have got rid of the Pain, but there's no way that I could read that they're playing 3 spirits and that the 3rd spirit's in hand. So I declare on that one, and then during the battle phase, they activate the 3rd spirit that they've got in the hand, which I'm just like, yeah, bro, okay, well, kind of is what it is. So I have to go in for that for 53. Spirit's Effect's going to get the trap card as well, and now I'm like, well, what more could I really do? Like, they didn't summon twice from the extra deck, so I can't even turn it into a Typhon. I could activate Lordy Lord to bring a Dark Magician back from the graveyard. Obviously, I'm under Droll, so, you know, there's not really a lot of searching or anything more I can do. So I just bring back the Dark Magician, and then I'm like, well, the writing's pretty much on the wall here. Unless they make a misplay and overextend. I mean, they're top deck gates for turn, and it's like, okay, cool, well... they activate Pain to destroy the spirit. I've got no forms of interaction here anyway. So it's like, well, all I need to do is, all I'm hoping on is that they make a misplay. But honestly, all they need to do is get a Yubel on the board and then go and attack. And then they hit my access code for 53. So yeah, kind of scoop it out, go to game 2. Big difference, disappointing on that one. Couple of different things that I probably could have done better. But then there was like, you would have to have like Pegasus Eye to know exactly what they have in the hand. So we're going to Null Sign Rod. Rod gets hit with an Ash, which is pretty damaging as well, because I could have really used that being a starter. We then use Magician's Soul, send in Dark Magician, and again, we're at this point where, do we want Dark Magician to the board? Do we want Souls to the board? I haven't got any spell. I think I've got an Imperm and an Eternal Soul, I think. And I'm like, well, do I sacrifice both of those to get me a draw? I think I might have actually opened up one of the Azamina spell cards. I can't remember the exact cards I've got in my hand on this one, but we're going to use Souls. We send 1 as cost to draw, and I think that was the Azamina spell card. And I was like, well, if that hits the graveyard, at least I can get some sort of use off of the back of it, and hope that I draw into an Azamina piece here to kind of let the combo go, which is stuff like Wanted gets you going, Deception would get you going as well, and I'm basically just adding an Omni-Negate. So, unfortunately, we do draw into a Illusion of Chaos, so we activate the Illusion of Chaos, and I took out the Dragon. I really wish I'd kept the Timaeus Dragon in. Not that it would have got me anywhere, it would have just got me a Timaeus Dragon on the board. So I was like, okay, cool, well, I guess we just go for a Magician's Souls for a follow-up for the next turn. And if you hold on to the Illusion of Chaos, what that then means is that when I activate Illusion of Chaos during my opponent's turn, I can then get Rod as well. So I can basically start this entire combo off again. So we put one back to the top. I don't know why I shuffled. So that definitely shouldn't have happened. It should have been, you know, the card put back onto the top of the deck. So now it's all about, like, what can I actually add here? And there really isn't a lot that I can do. I mean, going to SP, no banish off the back of that. Kind of just, where can we go here? And I think this is where, I think it's an Ash and an Imperm is what I've got in hand. Is it an Ash and Imperm? Maybe it's just an Ash then. If I've passed my turn, maybe it's just an Ash. Yeah, so we go Dark Beckoning. It's like, yeah, okay, cool, we'll let that resolve. Oh, actually, no, it's like SP, because SP gets rid of it. They've already conducted their normal summon. They can't use Grave Squirmer, because Grave Squirmer can't extend off of the back of it, because he needs to have a Fiend on the board. The only card that they could have hard opened to make this be dodged is if they have a Shavara. So I was like, okay, well, let's get rid of both of them. Then they get Gate. Gate gets them a second copy of the... second copy, and I'm like, well, I can save my Ash Blossom if they get a Throne, because Throne can obviously destroy in deck or add. So they've added a Dark Beckoning for a follow-up. And the other benefit as well of getting rid of the Beckoning and making sure it doesn't go to the grave is it means when they've got Gate, they can't activate it to use it. So if hard open up Chronicle, they use the Throne, that gets hit with Ash Blossom. And then it's kind of just going off the back of there. So they've got 3 more cards in hand. They've got a Shavara. They'd hard open up the Shavara as well. So that could have dodged, actually. That's probably what they should have done, is they should have used Shavara to dodge to pop the Dark Beckoning Beast, which would have put Dark Beckoning in the graveyard. I mean, it wouldn't have made much of a difference because they still have, like, I know 2 cards in their hand. Anyway, so we draw for turn. We save the Illusion of Chaos. The Illusion of Chaos puts one back. I don't know why I put it to the bottom. It needs to go to the top. So this is just me getting confused between the Wanted and the thing. But we shuffle the deck up anyway because we go Normal Summon Rod. We get the Soul Servant. We activate the Soul Servant and put a card to the top of the deck. We've already got a Magician's Souls from the last turn that we saved off of the back of the Illusion of Chaos. We get hit with a Drown Lockbird again. And it's just like, bro, really? Like, what the hell? I mean, I know I should have expected Droll from the last turn. Oh, there you go. The spell card that I got rid of turn 1 was Drill Beam. So it's like SP comes back, we remember to reset that a little bit. And it's just, again, it's trying to figure out, like, where can we go from here? Like, under Droll, I lose all of my draw power off of Soul Servant. I lose my draw power off of Magician's Souls. Like, Droll actually sucks against this deck. Like, really, really painful. I didn't realise how painful it was until I was playing this locals. Because I was just like, all right, maybe Droll's dipped out the format. But I was incredibly wrong with that assumption. So now it's just trying to figure out, can we OTK? And I know that as soon as I put that Dark Beckoning Beast into the graveyard, it's going to set up the ability for Gate. So if they top deck any Yubel monster, they can then get that Yubel to the board and start building off the back of it. I know I don't need to play around Phantom, but I know I also need to play around Super Poly as well. So it's just kind of figuring out how far do I take it. So we use Magician Souls, we send Dark Magician, we bring back the Dark Magician just to get that extra attack stat on the board. There's no point in using Soul Servant because all it's going to do is stat the deck. I can't banish it to draw, so I might as well save it so that my top deck's going to be decent. So we're going for 25, we're going to 16 off of the back of those two. And then main phase 2, we go into Link Spider, and now we start clearing off the back row. We go Dark. Now that I've put a Dark in their graveyard, link it off into Selene. Selene includes my opponent's spell card, so there's 2 spell cards there, 1 in my graveyard. Selene brings back Dark Magician, turns it into Dark, go into Access Code again. Access Code starts to just clear off the board, so we banish 2 to banish all 3 to get rid of all 3 spell cards. Obviously, you do them one at a time, but the idea was I'll just do all 3 and do it quickly. So now I know that they've got a Dark Beckoning in the hand, which isn't going to search anything, and I know they've got a Shavara in the hand. So it's like, okay, cool, well, Dark Beckoning normal summons can't do anything. Shavara's effect to try and pop it, and then I'll go, right, okay, well, SP Little Knight banish both, and then Shavara like stays in the hand, and then they've got 1 more card left, and it's like, well, what's that 1 card that could be damaging? So they activate Dust Star, I chain that to put it, and then they scoop up and go to game 3 because that would have pretty much been game. So moving through game 3, starting off with Pot of Prosperity. Unfortunately, I don't see my Droll that I've sided in. Like, Droll was an option to side. I just couldn't believe how many people were maining it. So Super Poly, and again, I probably should have read this. The fact they didn't take Super Poly, I probably should read that they already have Super Poly in their hand. But I didn't. I completely didn't and messed it up massively. Spoiler alert. So they searched out the pain. They went for Lotus. They've got pretty much combo here, which is really good depending on what hand traps I've got. I think I've got Bestials. I think that's like the only thing that I've got. So we've got Spirit, we've got Pain Lock. Both pretty damaging and pretty annoying. So we go Bestial. We target the Lotus so that doesn't get to come back in the end phase if they do get a Yubel. But it also means that I can deck fin as well and get the Druid Swarm. I probably should have activated Druid Swarm here to use the effect. And the reason for that is I've got Witch in the hand. So the idea was that if I send Druid Swarm off of Witch, I can then send the Spirit to the graveyard. So I don't destroy it, which means it doesn't float. And then I obviously send it to the graveyard. I've got Cosmic Cyclone set up ready for the Eternal Favourite as well. But I really wanted to hit that back row. And they kind of confuse me a lot because of how hard they hold back the back row. So, I mean, I get it because you'll see later on what it is. It actually makes sense with hindsight, of to why they hold it so long. But you're basically just contemplating now whether you use Druid Swarm early or if you try and set up the Omni Negate. So we go Druid Swarm, we send that, we banish the Nightmare. We go Witch, Chainlink 1 Witch, Chainlink 2 Druid Swarm to send the Spirit. They then chain the Eternal Favourite just to have it face up on the field. And then I've got the Deception set, so I'm trying to work my way into the Omni Negate. I was like, okay, cool, we'll go Deception, activate that. They then try and use the Eternal Favourite to bring back the Spirit. I probably should have let them bring the Spirit back, to be honest, rather than having to worry about the Cosmic Cyclone, because then my Cosmic Cyclone could have dealt with the back row. But I was like, if I leave a Yubel off the board, I don't need to worry about getting hit with a full board wipe. And then that kind of escapes me later on anyway. Okay, so we've got the Eternal Favourite. The point is I'm just going to chain Cosmic Cyclone to get rid of it. It means that they don't get a Yubel back to the board, which means I can openly attack stuff, which is obviously going to be semi-helpful. We're now kind of go through Deception. Deception sends a monster. This allows me to, or tributes a monster to be specific. This then gets me the Hallowed Azamina. This is going to allow me to get the Omni Negate on the board. And this is where it's kind of weird is I felt that because they held back Super Poly for so long, that it wasn't really Super Poly. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, maybe I don't need to worry about it. Even completely forgetting that other Super Poly targets exist. So I'm just explaining the Hallowed Azamina. I go for the Soul. And the Soul comes onto the board and then Soul's effect to send one. I'm trying to remember if Soul's effect is send any card or if it's send a monster. I think it might be send a monster. But I went with the stronger option, basically. So Soul is target a card on the field. Oh my god, why didn't I target... Oh, I went with the other one. I went with the other one to get Wanted into rotation, which gives me another draw. That's why. Apologies. So now I go into Soul. So I went into... no, I went into the Omni Negate. I should have gone into Soul. What am I doing? Yeah, I should have gone into Soul here, because then Soul would have baited out the back row. Not that it makes any difference, but if I had gone here, I would have had a little bit more play to do. So I think I was rushing because we were getting close to time. So I was trying to make sure that I didn't run into time. Normal summon Droll. This is where I get greedy. Is I normal summon Droll, put the two of those together, go into the Dark Charmer, revive the Spirit, and they go thinking, they go Super Poly, and I'm like, damn, I ran straight headfirst into that one. I was pretty much setting up the Omni Negate to deal with the back row, which would have dealt with everything apart from that. So unfortunately, time gets called at this point here, and because of the Super Poly pretty much burnt my board down by 2k, and I was like, damn, well, that's pretty much where I've run into it. Like, Super Poly would have hurt, but I wouldn't have been hurt with a burn. I would have been hurt with like time option. Like, I probably would have been able to hold out a little bit longer, but that burn really did kill me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I will try and get the profile for the Dark Magician list up for you all as well to see, as well as some more duels as well, so you can kind of see how it progresses and how the deck kind of evolves a little bit as well. Anyway, for now, absolutely always stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.